Hello friends, it's Sunday afternoon, it's the 3rd of July and back down into my little spot. We've had just over 2 days of rain and I was a bit busy yesterday anyway, so I'm down here. I'm going to make another fire with natural materials. Not sure which way I'm going to go yet. I did find some tinder on the way here, but I also grabbed some natural tinder that I found last Thursday on the way up here, so that's guaranteed dry because it stayed in my little bag the whole time. But anyway, we'll give it a go. What I thought I'd do is show you, I was originally going to build a little shelter in this place here, and I'll show you the reason why I chose this spot. Okay, I'll change views. Okay, one of the reasons is because there's a creek down there, and I am literally, that's my shoe, creek, probably 5 meters if I'm lucky. There's the dog down there. She's getting down near the creek, having a bit of a play, and the creek carries on down there. But that's one of the reasons. Plus, just over in this direction over here, on the other side of the creek, about 150 meters away, there's a big clump of bamboo, so I thought I could use that for drainage, for gutters and things like that, for collecting water and so forth. But the most important reason was there's no real big gum tree branches. It's a pretty clear space up there, a bit of a hole in the canopy. That's not a gum tree, that one there. The only gum tree around is this one just here. And the branches that are hanging this way, they're not very significant. You know, they're maybe 5 inches at the base. You know, you still wouldn't want them to fall on you, but gum trees are renowned for dropping limbs, especially large limbs, after storms, etc. And you don't want to have this as your little bushcrafting little place. Build a shelter, have little fires and hang out here underneath a potential really big branch, like say just over there, that tree there. That big branch hanging out there, they're hardwood. If you've watched any of my videos, the eucalypt hardwood is extremely hard. Okay, so that would probably, that branch hanging out, that's probably on the way to 700 plus kilos, near a ton. So you can't muck around in the bush, especially when you're by yourself, with that. So, and just in case there's any tree huggers out there worried about these little saplings that were cut down and I didn't use and they went to waste, okay, you might be able to see up there, there's power lines. There's a big power pole sticking up just there. Okay, they were growing underneath that, and you know, every couple of years or so the power line companies come through here and they just cut down everything, so these were bound to be cut down anyway. So I'll turn them into firewood because they're rotten and stuff now. Anyway, lesson learnt. I didn't realise that I had to cut the bark off them to stop the rot, so I'm going to try I believe that's my original first Dakota fire pit that I dug. I'm going to see if I can make use of it today. I don't know if I collapsed it or not. Okay, I'll get back soon. Okay, so that was my original Dakota fire hole, fire pit, whatever you want to call it, and I was a responsible boy, and I did fill it in. I don't have anything, I'm not interested in digging it up, but I'll just make the fire there. We have had a lot of rain in the last couple of days, so I don't think any fires are going to get out of hand here. So anyway, this is my tinder pile. Got a couple of options there. We seen the other day when I was a bit rushed that the paper bark that worked, and there's those things again. They're a bit hit and miss, but they will work, but they still have, if you see there, quite green roots or stalks on them. So there's a bit of a green colour to the stalks inside those seed pods anyway. And this paper bark, some of it's dry, some of it's wet. Basically I got some that was folded over off the trunk of the tree, and I tried to get the stuff that was on the underside of the fold, so if that makes any sense, it should be a little bit drier from the rain. So, and I specifically walked into the bush a little bit to get that, so the tree canopy would shelter the tree a little bit more, so there's more of a chance of the tinder being dry. Okay, I'll set the camera up on the tripod and I'll get back. Righto. So because the ground's wet, you can see that I've put some medium-sized sticks on the bottom there to get some air underneath the fire, but also just so the tinder and that's not sitting directly onto the wet, damp ground. And it is winter time here, so everything's a little bit cooler and damp. So just preparing my little bundles of different size sticks and stuff, and I'll get back in a minute. Okay guys, what I got going on here is, of course, it's getting dark again. I'm always sort of falling into that trap of being a bit a little bit here too late. I've got my Hultifer's heavy duty knife. Joe X does an absolutely mad destruction, attempted destruction video on this knife. Plus he, usually does destruction videos on all knives until fail. And this one didn't really fail, so it's definitely worth sussing out Joe X. He's the dude who wears the gas mask, and yeah. Anyway, so this is good. It's got a good spine for scraping. So what I've done is, on top of the little crisscross sticks that I've done to get some oxygen underneath and to keep it dry, is I laid, like joists, the opposite way. I ran those little furry seed pods and on either side of the furry seed pods I've got some of this paper bark, and I've pulled it, where's a thicker bit, so if you can see that there's lots of layers there, so I've just been peeling the layers back until I get down to thin little layers like this. There's a bird flying around. And I just placed those thin layers on either side, so either way I'm going to be catching sparks somewhere. And occasionally, not all. And then what I was also doing to some of the bigger pieces, I was just putting like little rips in it, so just creating more edges, more finer little fibers and that might catch. And I place them on the outside, and for a little bit of extra chance of ignition, I've got this little piece of fat wood. I brought this as just a piece I carry around in my bag. You can see it there where I've scraped a little bit away, and then what I was doing is I was just using the spine of the knife just to put a little bit of fluff over everything. And I just gave that a little bit of a sprinkle, spent a couple of minutes doing that. And now I'll get my ferro rod and have a go. It's getting pretty dark here now. Stuff it. I'll go with the little tiny one again. So this is the little micro ferro rod that I got, and this just looks like the hacksaw blade striker thing that comes with them, attached to the little lanyard. So it's like a little bit of hacksaw blade with just a little bit of an edge on one side, and that's the ferro rod that I only just started using the other day. Keeping the lanyard rod, the lanyard attached to this, a lot of people say take it off because it doesn't give you enough range, but anyway, I just keep it together so I don't lose it. So my first strike I'm going to do into the hairs. They seem to flash but don't have enough heat to like catch anything on fire, so I'm going to try and catch the first sparks on the seed pods, and hopefully the flash may light up some of the dust from the fat wood, and if not, then I'll go onto the paper bark and go from there. Okay, I'll just do a dry run. Okay. One and done. You can see the smoke, you can smell the fat wood burning. So that pretty much did exactly what I wanted it to do. I gave myself three options. Like the old saying, one is none, two is one. So going off that, I gave myself 3 different options there to catch a spark and to create a fire. So obviously, like I've mentioned but failed to do in the last few days, is preparation's key, and that just goes to show, it really pays to spend that extra little bit of time. Probably took about an extra 15 minutes to prepare all this, and now I've got these little bundles of these little tiny sticks. Mind you, all this is wet, so, or damp at least, after 2 days of rain. So as you can see, the results paid off. I'll throw those little ones on, then I'll step up to the slightly bigger ones. And I'm also using this like a joist system, like a header or a bearer and joist. So as I'm laying these little sticks on, I'm laying them in one direction and then putting the next layer in the other direction, just throwing them on loosely. Now time for I'll throw a couple more leaves on there to get a bit of heat going, and we'll go the slightly bigger sticks. Just keep crisscrossing them just to keep the oxygen going. And pretty much from there, this thing ain't going to go out. So that pretty much concludes today's video. and I'm not going to put any bigger sticks on here. I'm not having a real fire. I'll just let all this stuff burn out, and I'll start heading home, hopefully before it gets too dark. Okay guys, thank you very much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Hoorah! It's been about 2 minutes since I last turned the camera off. I haven't put anything more on the fire. That's going really well. So yeah. Okay guys, see ya. One thing I noticed while I was packing up is, even as damp as everything is, there's very little smoke. So I believe that's probably got something to do with me putting the crisscross big sticks down the bottom and getting that oxygen in from the bottom. You know, you're going to get a mini Dakota fire pit sort of thing happening just from the extra oxygen. And like, look, there's virtually no smoke, and this is literally damp, wet sticks and timber from 2 days worth of rain. So yeah, quite impressive. Just a bit of trivia. And here's a bit of a sunset for you guys. Okay, see ya.